Yes, we're going to put Graeme Souness in the spotlight here on Monday Night Football tonight. And it's worth pointing out, because we're with Graeme quite a lot of the time, you forget the trophies that he won as player and manager, so let's remind ourselves. And you of exactly what he did achieve. 5 league titles as a player at Liverpool, 3 European Cups along the way there before moving to Italy and Sampdoria, the 54 Scotland caps, played in 3 World Cups, 2 as captain as well. And then it was into management, first with Rangers, a league title as player manager, and then 2 or maybe 3 league titles. We've just been discussing that. Left in February of the final year, but it would have been another league title for sure. FA Cup at Liverpool, and then, of course, Galatasaray winning the Turkish Cup and the last honour, the League Cup with Blackburn in 2002. We have a pile of questions, Graeme, that have come in on Twitter tonight. And let me work my way down to this one. I think is a good place to start. Of all the trophies you've won in your career as player and manager, which trophy is the most satisfying for you?
Well, at Liverpool, you know, we were winning the European Cup regularly, but it's like the one they treasured most, the one that they felt said most about the team was the league. Like both Ronnie Moran and Joe Fagan would preach that. Obviously, the glamour of winning the Champions League, or the European Cup as it was then, was very, very special. I mean, my last one against Rome against Roma, and it went to a penalty shootout. And the last time I kicked the ball was scoring a penalty in that. So that's very special. But it would have to be in playing. It would have to be, I think, winning the league for Liverpool. Winning the league tells you that you've weathered the storm better than anybody else. You've been together better than anybody else, and you've been a good team along the way.
Does it feel better as a player or a manager winning titles?
You certainly get a kick out of winning it as a manager as well. You know, you feel responsible. You know, another side of the coin, when you're not winning, it's not going well. I took it it was really personal for me, and which I'm sure didn't help me in my health. But I just loved being a player. You know, management was great, but I just loved being a player. You know, just being part of the dressing room, and we were fortunate to be winning things every year, and just the camaraderie and just being around the guys. And I was lucky I played with some fabulous players, some real men.
What would you describe maybe as the best Liverpool team you're in? So you come into that sort of 78, 79 team that a lot of the players you speak to now broke all the records of goals scored, goals conceded, or that sort of start of the 80s to the mid-80s where you won 3 league titles on the bounce, a couple of European Cups. What would you class as the best team?
It's a really hard call, that. I think, you know, I was the 81 team when we won the league. I think we conceded 4 goals at home in the league. You know, imagine buying the season
that was
ticket.
78, 79, 81. Yeah, you won the European Cup.
That wasn't 81 euros, it was before that. But you imagine buying a season ticket and the guy behind the desk saying, oh, by the way, you're only going to see us concede 4 goals at Anfield this year. You think he was talking nonsense, but I don't know. I was a young player coming into that team in 78, so I suppose I was sort of looking up to these guys, and I learned so much. When I think of myself as a player and how I developed, you know, I heard people talk about Mahrez today on the radio, where Mahrez will improve. No doubt Pep's a great coach, but Mahrez every single day when he goes to work is now training, with all due respect to the Leicester players, with a different level of player. It'll make him think quicker, it'll make him move the ball quicker, his touch will improve. So that's what made me a better player. There was no watershed moment, there was no words of wisdom where someone said, well, this is you do to go to the next level. It was all about training every day with just fabulous players.
Did that surprise you though, Graeme? Did you expect somebody to be in your ear all the time saying, do this, do that, you should be here, you should be there? When you went to Liverpool?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try and be as brief as possible. My first game was at West Brom. We were trained, a normal training, walk around Melwood, jog around Melwood, stretch, 5-a-sides, a few sprints and home. 4 days, day off. West Brom away, 2:45. I'm in the dressing room with Steve Highway, Tommy Smith, Ian Callaghan was there, Clem in goal, Emlyn. And I said, Joe Fagan, I said, can I have a quick word, Joe? He said, yes, son, what is it? I said, I've been here a week and no one said anything to me. How does he want me to play? Well, the second word was off. We've spent all this money on you and you asked me how to play football and walked away from me. I never ever asked another question my time at Liverpool. It was, you know, yeah, it was a brutal, you know, it was... What they did in those days was all the responsibility was pushed onto your shoulders. Deal with it.
Very different now. Which player from any of the Liverpool teams that you played in then would be best suited to help this current Liverpool team finally win the Premier League?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I mean, obviously, Rush's goals, Kenny's cuteness. You'd have to get them in the team somewhere with the three they've got. Big Al at the back, you know, with his touch and sort of reading the game. You know, he saw danger before anyone else did. Bruce Grobler, Clem, both top goalkeepers, quite different. You know, Neely is never classed as a great player. I think Neely's got, is it 7 or 8 First Division Championships, 4 winners, medals, European Cup, 1 losers.
Will Graeme Souness take this team to the title?
I think you talk about this Liverpool team.
Yeah.
I think right now they're still a wee bit behind City. City, for me, are still a wee bit in front of them. Hurts me to say that, but you know, who used to say football's a strange game, as we all know. Injuries to certain players, loss of form, but right now, I see City as being the favourites.
I think he was expecting you to say you would take them to the title.
Oh, you mean playing in that?
You're talking about what this team lack. I think, to be honest, I look at the midfield more than anything with Liverpool.
Yeah, I think that's how Jurgen sees it as well. When you look at, you know, he signed 2 midfield players, two midfield players this summer, and he went for Fekir from Lyon, the third one. So that tells you he thinks that's an area he needs to strengthen. I think that is. They've got 3 real workaholics in there. But I don't think they've got anyone that's really cute and clever like a Silva or like a, I don't know, De Bruyne, but who is, you know, these are hard players to find.
Well, you went off to Italy from Liverpool, Graeme, and people often say, this is the next question, people often say the pace of Italian football is slower, but was it actually like that when you played, or was that just a perception that we had in the UK?
No, at that time, I don't think it is anymore. I think they get after you now. And at that time, as a midfield player, it was an absolute doddle, because what they did, you'd receive the ball in midfield under no pressure. They would retreat until they're sort of just into their half, and then it was really hard to be a striker in those days there. There was nowhere to go, you know. Trevor Francis found it difficult, but did very well. You know, I played with Gianluca Vialli and Roberto Mancini. These were 2 young boys, but, you know, top players. But to be a striker in those days was very, very hard. It's the hardest place to play. It always has been. But in those days, I think it was double difficult because everything was compressed. They all retreated. You
came back and trained once at Liverpool, didn't you? You
yeah,
told me that story,
I was there 3 months. We were on the pitch the other day, weren't we, at Anfield? So in the 5-a-sides, that was, you know, I'd have as many touches as anyone at Liverpool in those days. And then I went off to Italy, came back, asked if I could train. We trained on Anfield, at the Anfield Road end, across the pitch. And I trained for half an hour. In a small game, I think I got 6 touches of the ball. I'd got into that pace, that tempo. And, of course, the Liverpool guys were still knocking it around double quick.
There were some incredible players when you were over in Italy. Who was your hardest opponent in Italy? We can think of the likes of Platini, Laudrup, Maradona, Zico.
Yeah, I had a real soft spot for Zico. I thought he was just sensational. Played against him in the World Cup Championship in Tokyo. You know, there's 2 players. Partly, and you know, for the younger viewers tonight, part of the game in those days, every team had 2 or 3 people that would try and sort of mess opposition around, test their mettle by being a little bit physical towards them. And there's 2 players in my career that I never ever laid a finger on. One was Zico, and he just had a sixth sense. You know, the radar he had was different to anyone else's. Never got anywhere near him. Another one was an Englishman who was a World Cup winner. Go on, who was that?
Alan Ball.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, sensational. Never laid a finger on him.
What about players going abroad? That happened a lot, probably in the 80s. Do you think that was a big sort of thing that you look back on your career that you think other players now should do?
Well, I just won the European. We just won the League Cup, the League and the European Cup. I mean, I was 31, and it was a challenge. In the 80s, it's like what England is now, really. All the best players want to be here. It was in the 80s, that's how it was there. It was a challenge. It was something very different, very new, and I loved every minute of it.
What about atmosphere? This is an interesting one, because you've played and experienced different atmospheres as player and manager. What's the best you've played in a football match?
I'd have to say a Rangers-Celtic game. I mean, I found it very hard. You know, OK, I was past my sell-by date, but I found them very hard to play in. And well, when I managed to stay on the pitch, I found them very hard to play in them. They were played at a terrific tempo. No one gave an inch. You know, it was.
Did you feel you had a reputation that you had to sort of show everyone that you were this tough guy,
no,
this hard man?
No, I never saw myself as that. I think there was an element of it's a British thing. I don't think it's just a Scottish thing. Who does he think he is coming here to show us how how it's done? And I lived with it, dealt with it, didn't deal with it too well on occasions. Like the very first game I played, I managed to get myself sent off. That was totally my fault and deserved to go. But it was a challenge, and I think we did okay at Rangers at that time.
Certainly did. What about playing for your country? What was your favourite moment in a Scotland jersey?
Well, I used to get criticised for saying, success for Scotland is just qualifying for a World Cup. People felt because of the players we had, we should have got out of the group stages when we went to a World Cup. But I think to do that, I think you need 5 or 6 really good players. Without doing disservice, did we ever have 5 or 6 players that could go and play in any of the big teams at those World Cups? I don't think we ever did. We had also 2 or 3 or 4 maybe. Did we ever have enough to get out? You can point to certain games that we shouldn't have lost. Games we should have won by more. I'm thinking 82 in Spain, where we conceded goals against New Zealand, which ultimately cost us. We then played the USSR and we had to beat them. We ended up drawing with them. But I think for Scotland, for a small nation, 5 million people qualifying for the World Cup was success. I think we'd take it right now.
Well, I go back to sort of your last World Cup. I've read about, obviously, Alex Ferguson leaving you out of the last game. I think it was against Uruguay. How did that feel? I think you were the captain as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agreed with him. And we had gone to New Mexico in the USA to prepare, and I got food poisoning. I just couldn't eat. I normally played around about 12-3. And we played West Germany in the second game. And it was, it was at 7,000 feet, which I've always found playing at altitude difficult. And it was very hot and very humid. And after the game, I think, 11 stone 2 or 3, so I'd lost a stone. And I can remember in that game going down on my haunches and thinking, this is hard work. And I think Fergie did the right thing, leaving me out for the third game. He subsequently said he shouldn't have left me out, but I disagree with him on that. I think he did the right thing. I just had nothing to offer on the pitch.
You crossed the line, you became a coach, so who is the best player that you've coached?
The best player? I mean, I've worked with some great players. Some of the lads at Liverpool, the lads I played with. You think of another one that's never deemed. Liverpool supporters don't talk about him as a great player. Ronnie Whelan was a great player. I mean, Rushy was a great player, obviously, but that's an easy judgment because of the amount of games he played, the amount of goals he scored. So there's lots of lads there. I think I had a guy called David Cooper. If you just talk raw ability, David Cooper would be up there. I had a guy called Two Guy, if you remember Two Guy, just in terms of... We never played a game at Blackburn where after the game, there wasn't a member of their coaching staff said, where did you get him from? What's up? Talking about Two Guy, what a sensational player he was. But I think the player with the most out-and-out ability, ridiculous ability, has to be Tiz. I mean, he'd be a dream in the modern game, just off the front, on the surfaces the way they are now. I think just for raw ability, and he had a picture in his head, and he had every single club in his bag. He could fade it, he could draw it, he could anything he wanted, he could ping it. No back lift. Sensational technique.
Well, you say you had some fabulous players at Liverpool. I'm not saying that you have regrets, but when you look back at your glittering career as player and manager, was it hard for you to accept that you weren't winning there?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that was a job I think I was always going to be offered. I think I took it at the wrong time, and there's no doubt about it. You got to remember, you know, I laugh at the young manager Pochettino. I'm not sure, was he mid-40s? I got the Liverpool job when I was 30, I think I was 38 years old. You know, and I'd had the 5 years at Rangers that had gone really, really well for me. I'd had tremendous support, first from David Holmes, then David Murray. And I was running the show there, and it went very, very well. And then I was offered the Liverpool job twice, and I said no to it twice. And then ultimately said yes to it. And I thought I'll go in there and I'll change it, and I'll, you know, it's a club that I just love playing for.
When you spoke about changing it, what do you mean by that in terms of changing? Because you did make a lot of change in terms of the personnel and the players. What was your idea in terms of what needed changing?
Well, improving. I mean, the one thing I learnt when I went to Italy, there was no real change in how the game should be played, but certainly how players look after themselves. I mean, I was certainly one of the chaps when, you know, it came to enjoying themselves. And I tried to change that, and it was very easy when I went to Liverpool to change that, because that was a team that hadn't won the league for 9 years. So they were, you know, I'm saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we'll do after the game.
You mean that's at Rangers?
Yeah, it was very easy. They bought into it immediately, because they were young boys that hadn't had success. So then when I go to Liverpool and say, look, I don't want us eating fish and chips after the game. I don't want us having cases of lager under the bus, so we drink it on the way back. And the response you would get was, well, we've always done that. And it was very hard for me to argue that point, because I'd been part of that culture. But I just think there's no doubt about it. I made many mistakes, and I think my biggest crime was trying to do it too quickly. Make the changes too quickly.
Listen, I was only a kid at the time, but I imagine you don't realise how young you were as the manager. And did it make it harder going into the job because you were actually your teammates you'd enjoyed so much success with, so you're having to leave players out? I remember you brought David James, Bruce Grobbelaar as your keeper, you have to leave him out. Dean Saunders come, Ian Rush. Was that a problem?
Yeah,
for you?
I can remember. One of the biggest mistakes I made, Peter Robinson paid me an enormous... He ran the show, he was the chief exec, secretary, but really chief exec, made all the decisions. He said to me, do you want to do the contracts? Now, I'd done the contracts at Rangers. So I said, yeah, I'll do those. And that was a monster mistake, because I can remember one incident. We signed Dean Saunders, Mark Wright, and they had gone on to whatever they were earning, slightly more than what Rushy and Ronnie Whelan. And I remember Rushy knocking on the door and said, you're going to have to give me more money. And I said, well, I understand why you're saying that. I said, but, you know, the money's just sneaking up and sneaking up. They've come on big transfer fees. That's where they're getting more money than you. He said, but everything I've done for this club... Now, that might have been a Wednesday or a Thursday. I'm having to say to Rushy, well, that's the way it is. I'm sorry, I can't. That's the way it is. And then on a Saturday, put my arm around him at 2:45 and say, no, make sure you give me everything now. So that was an obvious mistake I made in agreeing to do that. But you know, Liverpool Football Club will always be certainly the place to look back on where I enjoyed, in terms of playing, it was just unique. You know, the dressing room. Okay, you've heard me say it many times, if you're winning every week, it's very easy to have a great dressing room. But we went through, it wasn't always winning games. We did have hiccups, although they didn't last for too long, but we had a real bond there. And then Liverpool will always be a very, very special place for me. And obviously, there's other things happened there when I was manager, which I deeply regret, but I can't turn the clock back, and how I wish I could, but I can't. And it hurts me badly. That I'm perceived by some people to be something I'm not.
Well, thank you for your honesty, Graeme. We love that you are our teammate. It's been a pleasure tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thanks.